just have no idea how much we love sharing with you. Hello, Carol Ann.
Hello, darling. Good morning, everybody. I'm really delighted to be here. And I just wanted to remind Anayah to press the record button.
Oh, God, love you. Don't know where I'd be without Carol Ann, honestly. We've got another wonderful show for you today, and it's, I think, a really great time for this. It's about, often we get scared about things, fear visits, sometimes despair, and yet it's about thriving through it anyway, and we are quite capable of all doing that, right? And that you are much stronger than you think you are.
Yes.
So this is what it's about today, sharing the support, sharing the love, and, checking with you guys. So please do add your comments on the Facebook page on Angel Heart Radio.
Yeah.
And then we can see them. We'll go over to Restream. And yes, there we go.
There we go.
So if anyone's looking for Restream, there's no point, because Restream is not a feature that you access, right? That's a platform that we use in order to be able to see your comments and to stream a multi-stream. So all you need to do is add your comments on the live stream on Angel Heart Radio's Facebook page. We can see them and you can be part of the show, ask questions, share your thoughts and feelings, reach out for support. So welcome.
Welcome, everyone. And the thing that I've always found amazing is that, even if somebody doesn't feel, that they want to put a question up or ask a question, 9 times out of 10, or maybe 10.5 times out of 10, the question that one person will ask, other people want to ask it as well. So go right ahead and ask your question, because that's important. It's important to you and it's important to us. And that's what the caring and sharing with others is all about.
All about, gorgeous people. That's what it's all about. So I'm just going to the Facebook page. We've got a comment there already. It's just taking a minute to come through to Restream. So, that's exactly right. It does make a lot of difference to other people as well, because as Carol Ann just beautifully said, sometimes your question is the question other people want to ask.
Exactly. And sometimes, what? Hello, Terry Angel.
Yay!
Delighted to have you with us today, because sometimes we sort of feel a little bit shy and we think if we say something, then that'll give people, sorry, I'm just moving my chair about here, that'll give people a sort of a thought about who we are and what we are. But that's not what it's about. We're all here to work together, to assist one another, and to share the love and to share the healing and kindness and compassion. And this is what life is all about, especially at this time. And, so don't ever be worried about what you're going to put up about, because, my gosh, it's one of those amazing, there's a synchronicity and all of those things. We can come across a myriad of words. Hello, Deb, Courtney and Erin. Hello.
Gorgeous to have you all with us. Terry Angel, lovely to have you with us as well. This is the thing, isn't it? It's the caring, the sharing, the community, the communication that we all share. And so often, even for me as host, one of the hosts, I go about my day throughout the week and something will pop up that's someone said on the show or a question you've asked. And I'll often think about that as it relates to my own life as well, and send silent support and love and just those wonderful feelings of you're going through your week as well. And so we have that connection always. So, it's a beautiful place. Yay, Gabby is with us. This is so cool. Okay, so recently, the reason for today's show title is the other day, oh gosh, I've been falling in and out of these feelings of fear. There's been a lot going on in the world, but a lot going on in my life as well. And it was really great because Carol Ann and I, as you know, discuss a lot of things and we share time together, and we had a cuppa together the other day. And it was really great to talk about how fantastic it is that when we experience these feelings of fear, about then also bringing into that whole mix that we really are stronger than we realize, that we're very supported. Oh, angels, please stop doing that all the time. So they only do that when they want my attention. So that I'm asking, okay, what is it, guys? Lone is with us. Welcome, welcome. And having that blend, there's your balance right there. And that then starts to, it shows the way, doesn't it? The way out of that, back from that. And yet to try and deny that we're feeling those feelings isn't productive either. So it's having a lot of acceptance about where we're at. You know, I bought a new computer recently. I won't go into the story too much, but I bought a computer recently, and I got it and it was super fast and everything, but no upload. There was some sort of problem with it. So I went through the process, and then I got a replacement, which was so exciting. And then it had the same problem, right? Exactly the same problem. Right. Okay. So then I reached out to my son, who is a computer genius and whiz, and has been since home computers began with Commodore 64s when he was a teenager. And we had a really good discussion about my needs and what to do. And he asked me the question, would you consider the same brand again? I'm like, I'm never shopping with them again. You know, and then realized that, hey, hang on a second, am I closing myself out of something here? Am I actually shutting the door on something? Because this particular brand are really, really well known. They're used by businesses like everywhere, all over the world. And maybe there was something wrong with that particular model. So here's the question, everyone. Do we then have a big blanket statement to say, well, you know, they're CRAP? Or do we say, what is the bigger picture here? Is this actually an opportunity? And then he sent me one picture. And you know that picture, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And I thought, well,
Yeah.
I would go with that one again.
Yeah.
And so this morning, I did. I ordered another one of a different, you know, same company, different type. And it was a really exciting feeling to start letting go of that fear, Carol Ann, and reach into support.
It is. It is. And you know, this is it. Sometimes when we feel that fear and then we talk to someone about the situation, it makes a big difference. And I'm not saying it's going to make a big difference in the second you talk about, but it gives you another perspective to think about, okay, so this is what happened and why did this happen? And you know, it's so wonderful to have somebody that you can ask those questions to. And we would love it if all of you, if you have any fears or any questions like that, we would love it for you to ask us. I don't think that was very good English, but
no, it was done. It was proper good English. I'm telling you,
it was very proper.
You know, I'm an expert on proper good English, right?
Well, it was coming from the heart, you see, so I was getting a little bit tangled up. It was coming out, you know. But you know, when we can sit down and talk to someone, or when we can stop and we think, okay, so why is this happening? Because a lot of the time these things are happening to bring something to our attention that's happening in our life that may not even have anything to do with that. And so, you know, sometimes we just need to take a breath, sit down, take a breath, think about it for a moment, and then talk to someone about it. Because, you know, it's really interesting because there's so many sayings about fear, you know, like it's forget everything and run and all those things. But fear is a survival mechanism because that brings up your fight or flight mechanism. And so that is all about survival. And even looking at Anayah's computer, you know, like for Anayah, this computer is about her survival. It's about what she does every day. So she wants to have something that is going to do the job that it's meant to be doing. And so this is what's now happening. But it's interesting. I always find these things so interesting when you stop and think about it. Okay. It's like Professor Julius Sumner Miller used to say, why is this so? Most of you are probably too young to know who Professor Julius Sumner Miller was, but he was an amazing man.
Amazing man. And that's so true, Carol Ann, because underneath all of that, so in my mind, I went through anger and I was frustrated. I went through all these different they are emotions, but they were triggered by thoughts, like fear thoughts. Yeah. And then I got a little bit into, he was Deb Courtney's favourite. There you go, Carol Ann. And then I got into a little bit of the poor me, it's all so difficult, and it all happened over Christmas, so things were maybe a little bit slower than usual. But I must hasten to add, they did give me, it's in the process, but a full refund is coming. Same problem twice. Okay, no questions asked. There you go. So it just went to show me, okay, so when I'm in that fear, what is that opportunity for me? And how much do I actually want to stay there, Carol Ann? I could have stewed in that for ages. Well, never buying that again, which was my original, very, lofty
the immediate thought
reaction. It was my immediate thought. But then, hello, Louise, welcome. Thank you for joining. Louise is watching with us, as is Jenny Laws. Welcome. So getting out of those immediate things, okay, so please don't castigate yourself about that. It's not about giving ourselves a hard time, right? Because all that does is it compounds the fear then with resentment, self-blame, criticism, and none of those things are ever going to support us. No. Not one of those things is ever going to lead us through. It will keep us in. So reaching out, as Carol Ann said, and discussing it, but also reaching in to myself. What is my learning in this? If everything is a gift, hello, Louise.
Hello,
Love having you here. If everything is a gift, and I do believe it is, and that's sometimes really hard to see. And when, people are facing much bigger things than a computer not working. Let's face it, Carol Ann, much bigger challenges.
They definitely are. And like when we put things into perspective, but also the thing to think about too is, yes, people are facing massive things at this time, but we're the ones who are living our life. This is our life, and this is when we need to think about, and it's not being selfish to think about ourselves, because how we are affects other people in our lives because of our energy that we put out into our aura. Our thoughts create our reality, and so we need to think about the fact that yes, there are people facing massive things at this time. But in Anayah's case, this computer it's one way that she can spread the love, and she can spread the message, and she can share with everybody to assist them in any way that we can. Because I think this is part of us. We're all threads on this tapestry of life. And so all the things that we do, say, think, and act on, it affects all of us. And so, it's about thinking about ourselves. Sorry, I just got distracted by Deb Courtney's comment. She got bitten by a snake 2 weeks ago.
Oh, didn't see that.
Calm, and I now know the lesson. It's interesting. There's lots of things around at the moment to do with snakes. I was doing some gardening the other day, and I kept getting these messages from my guides. Watch for a snake, watch for a snake, watch for a snake. Because I live on acreage, and I was, believe it or not, I was swinging a mattock at the time. And I swung the mattock down because, I was wanting to get in to get this garden done. And the next thing, whoop, this snake crawls out from where I was. I didn't get it with the mattock, so that was good. Crawled out, and then it just went across and underneath some prickly plants that I wasn't going to touch anyway. So there's lots and lots of snake messages being given out at the moment. Yeah. And they are fantastic messages that we get from the snake. Such an amazing spiritual message.
Absolutely. these, thank you for actually raising that too, about what that is representing for me. I wonder now, Deb, what was, yeah, she had the guidance there. So you obviously had a lot of spiritual support as well. You knew to stay calm. You knew what to do. We're really grateful that you're okay and things have turned out so well, and that you now, by sharing this, then trigger Carol Ann sharing, and it then prompts other people to really realize that this is great guidance coming through instantly for people all over the world about paying attention and being aware, being calm, moving through grace. Again, we know it's not always easy to do. And yet, without it, what is there?
Yeah.
We know then that that's when we get very caught up in fear. And hey, I lived for years, very caught up in fear, all the what ifs, recrimination, regrets, blame and anger. And it took me a long time, actually, and working with the angels was so fantastic. They helped me to come to an understanding a long time ago now, that I actually wasn't an angry person. I was a person in pain expressing through anger. So these things begin to unlock the code of what our own particular experiences are, how we are reflecting them in the world, and what they mean for us. And then within that, all the opportunities for growth and support and self-care and love. Because as the great Louise Hay said, and continues to share her message through her marvelous work, which circulates the planet, that's the only way out is through self-nurture, self-tenderness, self-care, and being willing to accept ourselves just as we are.
Yeah. That is just so important for us to accept ourselves just as we are. And I was just, when you were talking about that, Anayah, I was just thinking, now, what would I have, you said you were this person who was coming through this, and it could have been anger, etc., etc. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how would I have described myself? I mean, obviously, many years ago, I was in a lot of pain and I was unhappy with life. But then I stepped into another place, and I just was thinking, now, what would I have called a word to say how I was? And the word that kept coming to me was silent. So even though I wasn't silent in what I was doing in daily life or work I was doing or whatever, silent was what I wanted to be in comparison to the whole wide world. I didn't want the whole wide world to know who I was. I didn't want them to know anything about me. I just wanted to stay hidden and down below the radar, as I've spoken about before. So, it's a strange word, but they're just saying to me that that's the way they would have described me. But then going into my heart space and getting all the beautiful opportunities I then got, I realised that was holding me back, because it was an emotion that was holding me back. So I needed to face that emotion, and I needed to step out, and I needed to make a noise in the world. And I think probably sometimes that's what people think I'm doing, making a lot of noise. But it's really interesting how different we all are, the different things we've come to learn in this lifetime, and how we look at those different things that are happening to us in our lifetime. Because this is why we're here, and this is one of the exciting things about it all. This is why we're here.
And that's the thing, Carol Ann, isn't it? Once we begin to make these connections, then honestly, it really is like being provided with a roadmap for our own journey here. We begin to understand ourselves. And welcome, Adam. So great to have you back with us. Thank you so much for joining us. We enjoy your company. This is so important. And as you were speaking, I was reminded of an interview I saw with Neil Diamond once, and his song, Beautiful Noise.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he flung open the windows. I don't know where he was, maybe New York or somewhere, where there is a lot of sound. And all of a sudden, he began to become aware of the different sounds and how beautiful the sounds were, what they meant about people's lives, people living, people calling out. Maybe there were some angry voices, maybe there were some happy voices, but there were people living all around. And instead of it being a cacophony of noise, he suddenly realized what a beautiful sound coming up off the street.
Yeah.
Right? It's got a beautiful sound, it's got a beautiful beat.
Yeah.
So it really comes back to how we are willing, because it's all about our willingness. And again, if you find you're in a place where you're not really willing right now, please don't give yourself a hard time about that. And that's okay. It's okay. You'll get through that too.
Yeah.
I have a beautiful little prayer that I use. Thank goodness it's a prayer, because you can't wear it out. Otherwise, I would have worn it out years ago. And that is, okay, so there's two parts to this. I am willing to release that part of me which maybe it angers me, maybe frustrates me, maybe I feel limited, whatever, ... when I think of, right? And I was using that for a while and I kept feeling resistance. And I thought, what's going on with this resistance? And I felt into it and I realized I actually wasn't willing at all.
No.
I wasn't ready to let go of the resentment at that time. So I slightly modified it to I am willing to become willing to release that part of me. And boom, like a flower, I could feel the bud of that. And it began to really open until it could blossom fully.
Yeah.
So there are so many different ways that we can work through these times. And I'm really interested to know what are some of the ways, what are some of the challenges you're facing or opportunities for learning and growth that you're experiencing right now? And how are you dealing with that? What's your approach? How are you finding that in your daily life, everyone? So please do share. Now, there was a comment from Deb I want to go back to, Carol Ann, because I didn't understand it, about the snake bite. Okay, Deb, you said, I have used it as an apology for others in drama, as a lesson on staying calm and centered. I'm not quite sure about the apology part. Could you enlighten me about that? Because I really want to understand that. There's a lot in there.
There is. There's a lot in there that you know, when we all understand it, can help others as well, because that's an analogy.
Anthology.
Oh, is that supposed to be anthology?
It says anthology. Yeah, it was probably a spell correct thing. I have used it as an anthology for others in the drama, as a lesson on staying calm and centered. Bingo. I'm so glad I asked about that.
Yeah. It's such an important part, because, you know, this is about, it's all about sharing what we know, what we learn, what we experience, because quite often people will think, oh, I'm the only one who's experiencing this. I'm the only one who's going through this. But let me tell you, you're not. You know, there's so many people going through these experiences at the moment. And that's why it's so important for us to share with one another, because, you know, what happens in all our lives just ripples out. And so, you know, what we're experiencing and how we act and react, because, you know, there's this really good saying, the only thing you have to fear is what you add to or subtract from reality, because reality is reality. The sun has rose this morning, and that's a reality. What you add to or subtract from that can then become a fear. So, you know, sometimes you need to stop and think about it. I quite often stop and think about it when I get told that statement. But so you guys know what I mean there. But, you know, so you know, life is all about, it's not It's not this beautiful, smooth ride going down the road. The road is smooth. If we had no little humps, bumps, and up and down like roller coasters, what's the point of us being here? What's the point of us experiencing this life? We're here to experience free will. We're here to experience choice. And that's what all these things that come to us, you know, like it's like sometimes you might think that you've almost had a bucket of cold water thrown over you. But, you know, the good thing about that is we can give your hair a little bit of a wash and let that all that negative energy wash away. So it's how you look at what happens to you in your life that's really important.
So let's now address what happens then. Deb said she doesn't watch the news anymore. No, me either. I haven't been watching it for years, love. So what happens then? Let's talk about for people now who are really in a world of pain and fear. So how do we then support people, all of us, who, when someone's really going through really deep pain, oftentimes, in my experience anyway, oftentimes for me, it was so overwhelming. I couldn't see beyond how I was feeling. Yeah. I couldn't experience any kind of joy for a little while there. It took me a little while. And then I began to see that there was a possibility of that, because both my parents, within three months, both of my parents had passed, and a very significant and important relationship for me, I felt I chose to step away from. It was not healthy for me. I know you know quite a bit about this, Gabby. You wrote beautifully on your page about it. Thank you for that. Thank you. Deb said, me too, it overwhelmed me. It really did. It was like being, for me, Deb, how was it for you? For me, it was like I was so completely involved and enveloped in it, and the wave was so enormous. If you've ever been dumped by a wave in the ocean, you don't actually know which way's up and down. That's how I felt. Thank God for the angels is all I can say. You know, that was, since I've been working with the angels, like really working with them consciously since 2001, that's the only time that I have not been able to feel my communication with them. I knew they were there, however, so that gave me an enormous amount of comfort that there was nothing they would not be with me through. And yet for the first time, my channel was like gone. Felt like it completely vanished. Of course, it hadn't. It was just waiting for me to experience what I was experiencing. And when I was ready and able to start slowly coming through that, there it was the whole time. But Deb said I didn't either. I didn't want to be here anymore. I had a voice that kept saying, it will get better. Oh, that's beautiful, Deb. Because when you are so sad and feel so much pain, when every breath is difficult because the pain is so strong, that is very difficult to be positive through. So the reason I share this with you all is to demonstrate that I actually do understand how difficult things can be. Each person's experience is their own, and there'll be different ways that we experience it. But to shut ourselves, which is what I do actually, I retreat. You'll always know if I'm in a bad spot, because you just won't hear from me. And I know, sitting here talking to you guys, that's the one thing that is not the best thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Reach out to someone, and yet I don't. It's just like I become a tiny little ball, and I just am so insulated. So if you know someone like that you normally hear from, you normally communicate with, and you aren't, make sure you reach out to them. They might need a helping hand. They might just need someone to reach out and say, hey, I just want you to know I'm here if you need me. They're probably some of the greatest words I have ever heard or given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, we all react to these things very differently. We all have our own way. I know, and I won't go into the depths of it, but when I lost my daughter, all I wanted to do was talk about her. And people didn't want to talk to me about her because they didn't want to see me upset, but I needed to talk to her.
Yeah.
And then when I lost my mother 5 years ago, because we were both spiritual people and we knew we'd see one another afterwards, in inverted commas, I thought this is going to be so different. And it wasn't. It wasn't. And it was like I couldn't believe the pain that I felt. And I didn't understand that. I kept saying to myself, but Carol, you know she's okay. She's there. You've seen her. You know she's okay. And I'd say, but why am I feeling like this? And I meditated and I did a whole lot of things and we all talked to one another. But in the end, I had to realize that even though my spiritual body, my spiritual soul knew everything was okay, this physical body that's the vehicle for my soul in this lifetime, this physical body had to grieve.
Yes.
We all have different ways of grieving, but my physical body had to grieve. And once I could realize that, and then I started to grieve and think, there is nothing wrong with you grieving, Carol. It doesn't matter that you're a spiritual person. You still need to grieve. And this may not be just about, you know, losing someone. It can be anything. It's not necessarily about a person. When something disappears from our life, it is okay to grieve for it. Yeah. And then as you recognize that and you realize that and go within, when you go within and you can meditate and find that peace within yourself, then you can start to heal from your heart out. But, you know, it's a process and we're here for one another. You know, sometimes you might just want someone to sit next to you, make you a cuppa, hold your hand and not say a word, just to be there. Or sometimes you might just need to talk it out to someone because we're all individuals. We all do it our own way. But to know that somebody is there supporting you is the most important thing. But no, it's not. That's the second most important thing. The most important thing is to know that you're always loved. You have the angels and you have spirit with you. But you are a soul that is so strong, that is so unbelievable, has so many tools, and it's trusting and believing in yourself. To know that no matter how long it takes, whether it's a little while or a long while, you will get through it. You will survive. And that to me is the important thing.
Absolutely. And I love that. That's so true. And that's a really good reminder, Carol Ann, when anything that we love or value leaves our life, there is a time to grieve it. And grieving it is essential.
Yeah.
Absolutely essential. I remember long time ago now, when my girls were in primary school, there was a woman there who had lost her child to cot death. And I think it had been about 5 years. And I overheard one of the other mothers saying to another mother, oh, for God's sake, it's been 5 years, you know, move on already. And I realised that, I had a word or two to say her, I can tell you. But I realised in that moment that if we ourselves do not allow ourselves to grieve, we can't accept somebody else's.
No, that's true.
Right? And grieving is a right. It's a right to grieve for as long as you need to. Nobody else has the right to put a stopwatch on your grief. There does come a time, however, if we're not doing anything to support ourselves, we need to stop that behaviour, right? But that's a behaviour that's not the grief, right? So they're two different elements. So don't allow anybody to tell you how to grieve, when to grieve, or when to finish grieving. That's really important. You know, very important. It's a personal journey. Nobody else can take it. So as you were speaking, I love this so much. I've opened the angel code. Here's a message that I'm going to read a little part of it. Carol Ann read one to me before the show. This one came through on the 27th of February 2002. Turn the pages. The healing occurs for many in an instant. For time is of no significance when the healing energy is unbound. Unfurl your wings. Take flight. Break free. Your pathway becomes clearer to you now. You begin to see as we do. The vision is vital. You have it, use it. Illusions are useful tools, mock them not. Allow the light to enter, it will lead you home. And that's a perfect representation of what we were speaking about. For some people, the healing comes about very quickly. For others, it's a different situation altogether. And it's really important to unfurl our wings and to take flight. And by that I mean, when we allow ourselves the generosity and the grace of experiencing our feelings and reaching out if we can for help, and if we can't, at least being open to help from others, that then begins to set us free. So that journey is a pathway of many, like many cobblestones. They're showing me these cobblestones, and someone is kneeling and digging them up, and underneath is a little message. So they're showing me that every single step of the journey has a message for us if we're willing to see it, to read it, to be open to it, to understand it, or at least to ask, what is this about for me? What can I grow through from this? What can I learn from this?
Yeah.
And most important of all for me, and this is a big one because I often want to visit here, letting go of victim. Oh, I can't believe they did that to me. I don't deserve that type of thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's a completely human trait. So don't think that I'm above any of that, because I most certainly am not. But I tell you what I am, is I'm willing to learn from it. And I'm willing to recognise it and say, not on my watch. I'm not going to go down that road. And if I do, I'll ring Carol Ann. Carol Ann. Good, isn't it? Because then, you know, that is the reaching out. And I'm very blessed because I have such an incredible friend, right?
It's a two-way street.
It is a two-way street, yep. But the thing of it is, because you're wise and wonderful, I'm so blessed, because when I reach out to you, even if I don't know that I'm in that victim role, you have your own gentle way of letting me know. And if that doesn't work, then you'll just tell me. That's a blessing. And when we're open to it, friends like Carol Ann come into our lives. That's so true.
Yes, and you know, as I just said, that's a very two-way street, because we both are here to help one another. And it's interesting, as we were talking and you were talking about, you know, opening your wings and letting it fly, it made me think of something that happened to me several years ago. And this was something that, because I'm, you know, because of being a Reiki person, I'm very into the metaphysical with the mind-body connection. And I had a problem with one of my eyes, and I needed major surgery, and it was not very pleasant. And it was a time for me to stop and assess where I wanted to go in my life, because I was at a crossroad of my life. And I thought, I really don't know what way I'm going to go. And it was going to be a very difficult decision. And so then this thing happened with my eye operation. You're not allowed to do anything for 6 weeks now. You can't read, you can't watch television, you can't do this, that, and the other. So what I did in my mind, I went into my cave. I hibernated and I went into my cave. And then I thought about, why has this happened? Why have I got myself into this position? Because in my belief, I had done this to myself. And then I realised the amazing lesson that I was being given. I was getting the experience of being fully immersed in my cave, hibernating, because I didn't want anyone to visit me. I didn't want any interruption. This was me having to come to facts and reality of what I wanted from life, where I was going to go, and balancing everything up. And by the time I came out of my cave, all the things that I had been concerned about and worried about, they weren't there anymore. Yes, I had the healing for my eye, but the things that had caused me to go into this place in the first place and get into that situation, they would resolve themselves because I had resolved it within my heart. I had looked at it in a different way, and I had looked at the whole picture of what was happening, not just at a little tiny part of it. And so, I don't want anything as drastic as that to happen to people, but, we sometimes do need to go into our cave to have that me time, because it's so important for our healing, for our growth. I grew so much out of that situation, and my life completely changed. And it was only because of the way I had changed my thoughts, because our thoughts create our reality. And so, it to me, that was such a major lesson for me to learn. But once again, it was recognizing it, working it out, working through it. I did it alone, but, we're all here to help one another as well. And so, we have such tools at our disposal, not only our spiritual team, the angels, our spirit guides, our animals and everything, but we have so much learning within ourselves. It's no accident that we're all here at this crucial time in Mother Earth's ascension, and with everything that's happening on the planet, no matter what country you live in. It's no accident we're here. We're here because we're meant to be here. So believe in yourself. Believe in yourself.
There is a song that I have been, well, maybe not obsessed, but it plays over and over and over in my head. I've posted it as on my page actually a couple of times as a tribute to you all. It's called As. A lot of you will recognize the song, but maybe not the title. And something you said just then, Carol Ann, I wanted to find the lyrics in this song. It starts off as around the sun, the earth knows she's revolving, and as the rosebuds know to bloom in early May, just as hate knows love's the cure, you can rest your mind ashore that I'll be loving you always. Now, there is a part in here, and it's about that being in just the perfect place for us, even though we may not agree with that. We may not be able to relate to that or even understand that. But the thing of it is, if I find it, I'll read it to you. The thing of it is, it's having that acceptance of perfection, regardless of what it looks on the outside. And that is, for me, just such a massive job some days, I can tell you, when I see things that are going on in the world, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, how do people survive the things that are happening? And then one day I remember, geez, I was only pretty young too. I must have only been in my 20s, and it was my son actually who got me thinking about it. He was given money for his birthday and it was $20. This is in the 70s. $20 was a lot of money, a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
A lot.
And it was when we were really beginning to understand about famine around the world, and in particular Ethiopia at that time. And I remember saying to him, what are you going to do with your money, Troy? You know, and he was just such a very considered little boy. And he said, I wanted to give it to people who don't have enough. I want to give it to the people of Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
This boy, honestly, what a blessing in my world. So that's what he did. I helped him, and that's what he did. And he was always very, very happy. He was about 4. He was always very happy with that decision. So it really got me thinking about, why is there so much suffering? Like, how, I mean, why? Why? It was really sweet, Deb. It was sweet and beautiful and loving and kind. He's a very kind human being. Today, he's 45 now. Why? And then it just dawned on me one day, and of course I didn't realize it was the divine speaking to me at the time. But the voice came in and said, what if it's an opportunity? What if these people have chosen such difficult life experiences, and the braveness of their souls is here to give us the opportunity to help where we can?
Yeah.
And my whole life began to change. Slowly, incrementally, began to realize that there are so many different opportunities that present themselves. Another one that happened was the same with Troy. He was, now he was only about 3 that first time, and he was about 5 this time. And we were living in Melbourne, and it's a beautiful city. Melbourne is a gorgeous city. And we were walking along the streets of Richmond, I think it was, and there was a homeless person sitting on one of the benches, and he was filthy and really, really smelled. And Troy had a bucket of hot chips, which is a big deal for us. Buying a bucket of hot chips was a big deal. You know, we didn't have any money to spend on things like hot chips, but this was a treat. And Troy just saw this guy, and he never even queried it, never even thought about it. He just walked up and he said, you look hungry, mate. And he sat down next to him. He said, want a chip? And I watched this man's filthy hand reach into the chips and take one and begin to eat them. And everything in me, all my mother genes said, stop. But my heart said, oh, I'm so grateful. So I sat there and I watched, and Troy shared his chips with that man. And I realized I was seeing greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted more of that in my life. I did. So I wish I could cry and talk at the same time.
You do sometimes.
God, can you arrange that for me, please? So I realized I wanted more of that in my life. And I could see through that one small action and my response, my brain saying, stop your son, because that's, you know, he's going to get sick or whatever, it's filthy. And that, but my heart responded and said, no, just be in the moment.
Yeah.
He didn't even get a sniffle, right?
No.
And I began to see that there were ways I could have more of that in my life. And so I was a young woman. I must have only been about 23 maybe at the time. And I began to see suddenly that opportunities began to open, little things. I began to look at people and smile at them.
Yeah.
Such a simple thing. Heart connections started getting made. I still had a very long road ahead of me, and there was a lot of pain that I was working through and a lot of stuff. But it was a seed, and that seed I decided to plant and water and grow. And that's my message. We can all do that.
Yeah. A couple of comments on that. Children can show us so many lessons because they're coming from that place of innocence, and their soul is just beginning the journey in this lifetime. So and the veil is still quite thin, and so they're looking at things through a different perspective to us. And as for the smiling, it's something that I do all the time, even when I'm shopping, and sometimes people give you very strange looks. It's a little bit more difficult with masks on at the moment, but you can see.
You can smile with your eyes.
Yeah, and because my eyes are so, I've got such heavy lids, my eyes sort of really get crinkly when I smile with my mask on. But you know, when one of the things when we had big lockdown at the beginning of last year, in the middle of last year, when we would go allowed to go out for a walk around our block and exercise, to smile, because we didn't have masks then, and to smile at everybody that you saw. And, you know, half the time people would keep their distance, but they would just exchange a few more words with you. And so it was letting everybody know we weren't alone. You know, there was a lot of support and a lot of people. And just to smile at someone, it raises your energy as well as raising theirs. And it's such a simple thing that we can do all of the time. I had to smile today going out with my mask on. I was stepping over things and it reminded me of when I wore glasses all the time, because I had to actually look down over the top of my mask. It was really strange. But, you know, like, we can do these little things. It's really such a small thing to do, to put a mask on. And, you know, so it's all about us choosing to care for one another. And that, to me, is what I see our situation as. And, you know, if people disagree with it, that is their right as well. We don't know what their path was in this lifetime, what their choice was when they made their contract to come back in this lifetime. And that reminds me of what you were saying before about Troy, because that's one of the difficulties I have sometimes with my spiritual pathway, when I see something and I think, how can that be happening to someone? And then after I send them love and blessings and healing, I think to myself, well, Carol, you don't know what they came back here to experience. And so by sending them love and healing energy, then that it's not just to make me feel better, but it's something that they will receive unknowingly, and which will help them in some way.
Absolutely. Amen to that, sister. It is sending that love and that kindness. And, you know, and I'd actually forgotten about this, but the other day I was at the shops. This is before we were wearing masks, before this lockdown, but there was a little girl and her mum in a shop, and they both had masks on. And we were standing, they were before me, and the little girl looked at me and I smiled, and I heard her say to Mum, "Mummy, that lady has smiley eyes."
Isn't that gorgeous?
I just was on cloud nine all day long, because
yes.
because that little girl and I shared that moment, and she got that, she felt that, she recognized that. So she actually has that in her to recognize it, right? So her mum is obviously doing something, lots of things to promote that in her child. What a fabulous thing. And then the kids and I, my grandchildren and I, watched the Disney movie Soul yesterday. What a cool movie. I
haven't seen that.
Really interesting, about what happens when we leave our bodies, and they touch on what in the movie they call lost souls, and the hope, and what can really occur. And the kids and I just watched it together, and it was really great to sort of have this conversation. And it was like, I just felt so much gratitude for that movie, because it's opening up this topic of conversation in such an easy way, and it was funny. So the guy comes back, he doesn't want to go, right? Because he's got this big thing happening, and he doesn't want to. I'm going back in my body, and he will not have that. He's not, and he does come back, but he comes back in the body of a cat. And the soul he's got to mentor, who Mother Teresa has mentored. That was, Mother Teresa gave up on her. Gandhi, Nelson Mandela. It was really amazing. This little soul was not having any of it. They would not find their inspiration, right? So that soul came back in his body, and it was a fantastic experience, and it was funny and it was really thought-provoking, and so there's a lot of things coming to the planet right now. 10 years ago that movie would not fly.
No.
10 years ago that wasn't going to happen. That's a Disney movie. It's called Soul, and we've got Erin Gordon with us. Hello, gorgeous Erin. Hello, lovely. So yes, that was a really fun movie, but the thing about that is it really showed me, Carol Ann, what's opening. And all these children now have the opportunity to think about all those things.
Yes, definitely. So was that at the theatre, or did you see it on Netflix?
No, got it on one of the, I think it was on the Disney Channel or something or other.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to keep an eye out.
It at home. We watched it at home. It was super fun.
Yeah, but there's lots of amazing things coming out, because, you know, these are the steps we're taking as we're all making our ascension, and this is all the children are coming back. And I can remember a long time ago that when I first started, it might even have been, you know, when I was only in my teens or whatever, and I was working with mum and things. And somebody said to me one day, you know, you realise, Carol, the planet's going to tip over and we're all going to die and blah, blah, blah. So what's the point in us doing all of this stuff? And then just out of my mouth, which was quite young at the time, just said, that's okay, the children are going to save the world. The children are going to save the world. And so that's something that has stayed with me for a long while. And I think that it's, you know, it's as each of the, like we've had the indigos, and then we've had the golden children, and we've had all the various children. And the veil is getting thinner. The children are so much more perceptive, and, you know, sometimes they're just so spot on with everything. And I really and truly believe that. So, you know, they're just coming in with a different way of looking at life. I mean, look at children now as regards recycling. You know, like back in my dark ages when I was younger, you know, recycling, what's that? You just throw everything in the garbage bin or you go to the tip. But children, my grandchildren, are so conscious of recycling and doing these things, and other people's grandchildren are as well. So children are looking at life really in a different way, because they're so much more awake than we ever were when we were born.
Mm-hmm. So true. Yeah, my grandkids are the same. You know, we are always picking up rubbish when we're out. And yesterday, watching the movie, the main character Joe, his love, he was a teacher, but his love was piano, jazz.
Okay, yep.
And my granddaughter Abby, who's 5, he starts to play the piano, and he's not feeling very fulfilled in his life. But when he plays the piano, he just gets in that zone. And Abby looked at me and she said, he's lost in the beauty.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Oh, I thought, oh man, this is awesome. He's lost in the beauty. And so for her, she's a very wise little girl for 5, I can tell you. So yeah, it was a very beautiful moment to see her express that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Deb, I know. And hey, Tibeth's with us. Woohoo!
Hi,
Got Tibeth. Yeah, Tibeth Shakura Hamon is with us now. For you guys who don't know the latest, Tibeth is our newest and a returning Angel Heart Radio host. So Tibeth is with us. Go to our Angel Heart Radio Facebook page, everyone. Tune into Tibeth there when she's live streaming. And that is Sunday in the USA. Can't remember what time in the USA. Oh, darn it. But it's 12 noon in Brisbane, Australia, everyone. You will love Tibeth. Tibeth brings a world of, wow, beautiful world with her. She's very, she's got a lot of knowledge. She has a lot of wisdom, and she has a lot of experience in many fields. So she's going to have a very varied show. The first one we did, which was last week, Tibeth looked at numerology and your goals and what was it, Tibeth? so much has gone through my head since then, goals and something or other about being aligned. It was really fantastic, and I got to join Beth on that one, and we had an absolute blast on that show, and it was a very beautiful show with a lot of information going out and a lot of people receiving some great numerology support on that as well. Now I've got to find out what it was because I can't cope not knowing. Just talk amongst yourselves.
Just talk amongst ourselves. Oh, look, we will
find out
ourselves. So, it's really, it's values and alignment. There you are.
Values and alignment. Oh, thank goodness for that. Thank you.
Just put it
Thank you to Beth, honestly.
She wouldn't have made it through the last couple of minutes of the show if she hadn't have known.
You're a darling girl. Yeah, and it was fun. And Beth is, what do I say about Beth? Beth is interested in so many things, which means that what she brings to the table will be interesting, right, in many ways. So there you go. And Beth joined us on one of our readings show, and that was really good. She gave some great readings there, Beth. So we'll have to come back and do another reading show soon, I think. What do you guys reckon? Would you like another reading show?
Yeah, well, I think that we should do another reading show.
We love those.
Yeah, we do. We do. So, no, it's all good. So, yes, I think that, one of the things how blessed we all are is the beautiful hosts that are on Angel Heart Radio, because, we bring such variety. We've all had different life experiences. And I think that that's what makes Angel Heart Radio so enjoyable, because we have wonderful numbers of people who watch the show and comment on the show. And that's encouraging for us, because then it lets us know, okay, we're hitting the right spot, because it'll be, sure, this is great for us to sit here and chat and do all these things. But it's important to know that this is what you want to hear and what you want to experience. And with the variety, like we've got Silva who's doing her show in Italian, and we've got the wonderful Annette McCoy who's coming back in the next 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, last week in January. She'll be back with Tony Hickox for her fantastic astrology show. Yeah.
So, there's some amazing variety. And so, we just love to be able to be here with you. And it encourages us when we see your chat and your comments on Restream, because then that makes you a part of our show. It's not just all about us. It's about you as well. And that's what the important thing is.
Yeah. And I love that. Well said, Carol Ann, because that's what it's about. When we get this great response from you, like Carol Ann said, we're hitting the right spot. That's where we want to go. So we're always considering what to do for each show, right? What are we going to talk about this week? It's not about, because we could talk forever. I mean, that's what it comes through by now. But it's like, how can we assist people?
Yeah.
What do people need? What would they like? Please, why not just come to Angel Heart? Please do a show on. I need help with. We actually need you guys to get more involved if you would like to see the things on Angel Heart Radio that you want to see. So we've already had people in the comment section. Yes, please, they would like a reading show. Done.
Good.
Done. And this must be Tibet. So funny. I'm so used to be able to talk back to you on Zoom. I'm waving and talking to you. Ha ha.
Well, we can wave and you can talk on the Restream.
Absolutely great idea. Whoever that is, perfect. Exclamation mark. Thank you. Waving.
Yeah.
So, guys, let us know. If you don't let us know, we cannot give you what you want, what you personally want. So, yeah. All righty. Here we go. Another time to say, see you later next week. Sayonara. Tally ho. And all that.
Tally ho, tally pip, and don't forget to come back.
It's been great having your company, everyone. Thank you for your sharing. and being here, for watching. Please share the show. If it means something to you, let others know.
Yep. If you know somebody who's going through some difficult times, share the show with them, and then if they want to, they can reach out to us on Anayah's Facebook page and Angel Heart Radio's Facebook
Angel Heart Radio, yeah. Make
yeah,
sure.
So on the Angel Heart Radio Facebook page. And so, you know, we're here because we're here for you guys. And we, as Anayah just said, we could talk on forever. We could do that, but we can do that over a cup of tea, and we don't have to worry about, you know, if we've got our hair combed or anything like that. But, you know, we just love this, and it's one of the amazing things now that we're not on we are on Blog Talk Radio, but, you know, when we went on to Zoom,
we're not podcasting, we're live streaming. Yeah.
And so when we went on to Zoom, it was like, got to do the hair, got to have the clothes on, can't do it in my jammies anymore. So, you know, it's all fun and part of the excitement of being here and loving and sharing with you.
It is. And, you know, feeling like we've got this immediate connection with you, right? So beautiful for us. So thank you, Erin. Thank you, Tibet. Thank you, Gabby. Thank you, Prashita. Thank you for Adam, Jenny. I'm trying to think of who else was there. There's so many. Deb, lots, Terry, lots of people. Thank you so much, everyone. Please take your love for yourself very seriously. Take good care of you, look after you, and you're stronger than you might actually realize. If you need support, please reach out to someone you trust. If you don't feel you have anyone that you can trust, reach out to us.
Yes.
We are always here as well. Thank you, Carol Ann.
Oh, thank you, Anayah. It's been another wonderful show, and I've just loved being here with you.
Get yourself a copy of the Angel Code. It'll change your life, I'm telling you. Amazing.
It will. Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
All right, sweetheart. We love you, and we will see you same place next week.
Yep.
And I've got to go back into Zoom. Sorry, I didn't know how to get out of the show, but I figured it out.
You're so techo. You're so techo.
So techo. Thanks, everyone. We love you guys.
Love you all.